Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the science of how a simple walk outside can literally rewire your brain for the better. We'll be digging into some incredible findings from environmental neuroscientist Dr. Mark Berman that honestly might just change how you see the world around you.
So let's start with a feeling I think we all know way too well. It's the end of a long day, right? You're staring at a screen, but your brain has just checked out. You can't concentrate, you keep getting distracted, and you just cannot push through.
Well, it turns out there's actually a scientific name for that state of mind. It's a direct result of the world we live in, where we're just constantly bombarded with information. Social media, streaming shows, ads, all of these things are taxing our minds in a very, very specific way. And here's what Dr. Berman calls it: directed attention fatigue. The absolute best way to think about it is that your focus, it's like a muscle. And when you force yourself to concentrate on work, on studying, on any really demanding task, you are flexing that muscle. And just like any muscle, it just gets completely worn out. Okay, so let's get into this, because the key to recharging that mental muscle, it all lies in understanding that we don't just have one type of attention. We actually have two. And you know what? They work in completely different ways. This right here is the core idea. On one hand, you've got directed attention. That's your willpower, that's the hard work of focusing. But on the other hand, you have involuntary attention. This is what happens, that effortless focus, when something fascinating, like a beautiful sunset or a waterfall, just grabs you. I mean, think about it. Watching a waterfall doesn't make you tired. It doesn't drain you one bit. And this right here is where nature becomes our superpower. There's something called attention restoration theory. And it basically says that natural environments are the absolute perfect place to engage that effortless, involuntary attention, which then allows our exhausted, directed attention to finally take a break and recharge. As Dr. Berman explains it, nature is just filled with things that are softly fascinating. You know, think about the gentle rustling of leaves, or the sound of water flowing over rocks, or the little patterns on a flower. These things hold our attention, but they do it effortlessly. They don't overwhelm us. They actually leave room for our minds to wander and to recover. And this is where it gets really, really compelling, because this isn't just some nice idea. The scientific evidence behind it is absolutely stunning. We're talking about real-world impacts on our health, our finances, and even our kids' ability to focus. So check this out. In a landmark study, patients who were recovering from surgery, the ones who had a window with a view of some trees, they recovered, on average, a full day faster than the patients who just saw a brick wall. They even needed less pain medication. A full day. And this just brilliantly illustrates Dr. Berman's point. I mean, the patients weren't even outside. They were just looking at nature. This suggests that simply processing the complex fractal patterns of the natural world can actually calm the brain and trigger profound physical healing in the body. It's wild. And it even shows up in our wallets. A massive study in Toronto found that adding just 11 trees to a city block gave the residents a health boost that was equivalent to a $20,000 raise for every single household. And, okay, maybe the most shocking finding of all comes from a study on children with ADHD. It found that a single 20-minute walk in a park improved their focus and concentration so much that the effect was comparable to a standard dose of Ritalin. A walk in the park, on par with a powerful medication. Just let that sink in. So the evidence is pretty clear, right? The big question now is, how do we actually put this incredible science to work in our own lives? Well, Dr. Berman lays out a super simple, practical action plan for all of us. So here it is, the 5-step plan. It all starts with just recognizing when your focus is totally shot. And the next key is realizing that a digital break, scrolling on your phone, it isn't a break at all. It actually drains you more. To really restore, the advice is to go alone and totally unplug. Let your senses do the work. And hey, if you're stuck indoors, don't worry. Even just having some plants around can make a real difference. So the takeaway here is crystal clear. The spaces we live in, they are not neutral. They have a direct, measurable impact on our ability to think, to focus, to feel, and even to heal. The science is in. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it to shape your environment and in turn shape your own mind?